Okay, go ahead.
It's Paul Silva, administrator for the remediation division.
So last Monica as team leader for remediation division.
I'm Kerry DeSherry, geologist supervisor, remediation division.
And I'm Greg Langley, the press secretary.
Say that again.
I'm Greg Langley, the press secretary.
Perfect. Great, thank you. So first I want to start off with the building out in Minden. I just got back from there. Where are we in terms of the process and getting those tests done and getting those results back?
Hi, this is Celeste. Yeah, so they did the indoor air sampling of the off-site properties, which they actually did the first grouping, the first 4 properties. We call it tier 1 group. They did the sampling yesterday.
And so how long will it take to get those results back?
It's anticipated that the laboratory would take 2 to 3 weeks to have the results.
And so for people in that area right now, what do you want them to know? And is this something that they should be concerned about?
Well, basically the department is in conducting the investigation. Previous work has indicated that the former dry cleaner, which is the former Imperial Cleaners, that there has been a release of, it's probably historical use of operations over many years. We don't know specifically how things were released, but it's just probably routine operation, pre-regulation days. So anyway, we've been doing investigation, soil groundwater investigation, also soil gas investigation was done. And based on that, we're now doing some indoor air. It's just, there's potential for some indoor air issues of surrounding properties.
Tell her what the constituent concern is.
Yes, and the constituent of concern is the former dry cleaning chemical, mainly PCE, perchloroethylene, which is the main dry cleaning chemical that was used. And it also, the compound can break down into other compounds like TCE, trichloroethylene, vinyl chloride. So we also look for those compounds as well.
Now, you mentioned that right now we're in a tier 1 phase in terms of testing that air quality. How many tiers are there? How many properties are you supposed to be testing? And in the grand scheme of things, how long could this really take?
Yeah, so the tiers just relate to the grouping of properties. The first group of the 4 properties was what we considered to be the most near properties, like physically the closest. And also we put in that first tier the properties that had children on site. So the First Baptist Church Daycare Center, we included that. The Children's Center, which is about 3 blocks away. However, they were after school program business, and they also, I think, do summer programs. So there are children on that site. So we included that in the first tier. And then also the dance center, which is close by as well. They would also have children. So that's some of the reasoning for putting those properties in our first grouping, where we could go out and I have our contractor do the sampling. And then the second tier is going to be about 6 more properties. So we're anticipating sampling at those locations, which based on our data, we'll determine if we need to even sample those. But right now we're including them in our work plan. And then the last grouping is our 3rd tier. So we have 3 tiers of properties and sampling events.
Now, from my understanding, that building hasn't been used in 20 years. So do I have that right?
Yeah, it's pretty close, something like that. They added a building right behind it, the realty company, the LA Realty Company. Yeah, and one of the relatives of that, the lady that ran that realty company was using a portion of that old building, I think to do some artwork or staining or that kind of woodwork.
Woodworking, carpentry work, and it's also used right now as storage, like mainly like furniture storage.
But it's not operated since they closed down many years.
The dry cleaner closed down, we think around 2008 or so.
So this may not be in your realm or in your area, but in situations like this, when you do have a company that operates with a lot of chemicals, what is really the protocol supposed to be when they leave that facility so that these chemicals, we don't have what we're seeing right now?
Well, for dry cleaning, it's a small business, so they were considered generators. They did use the PCE, so when you have spent or unused chemical, then there are ways as a generator under the RCRA program, you have to follow the generator rules. So typically, if there's spent chemical, they would have a hazardous waste company. They come and pick up that material, things like that. So there's typically, as far as doing investigations, if there's a known spill, and the DEQ finds out about it, we can require sampling at that point. But typically, like in this case, we found out about it through an incident. Someone reported an abandoned drum and on site, and so the local DEQ inspector did an inspection and contacted the owner at the time, disposed of that, and somewhat, I think maybe the owner did the first 2 samples on the site of soil, groundwater, and so that is how the department became aware of it.
Now, moving on to this Bossier tour that was held yesterday, we weren't aware of that that was happening. So if you can kind of give me a little bit of background, this is the Tronix Mcgee wood treatment site.
I'll give you a little bit of what I know. The team leader, just like Celeste, is working on that. Is off today, is not here, can't talk to you, but basically that's a facility that was closed down many years ago. The facility went bankrupt. A trust was formed that allowed for a certain amount of monies to be set aside for the cleanup of that site, along with other sites in the state. At this particular site, we have about $23 million to spend to clean it up. There is some off-site contamination. It's in the shallow soil and a little bit in the groundwater. This remediation effort is going to be done in a phased approach. The first phase is to address shallow off-site contamination in soil. There's a work plan that's been put together, that's been approved. It's going to involve the removal of large amounts of shallow soil in that area to the north of the facility, which is a housing unit, I think, right now. Most of the area, the dirt will be removed from 3 to 5 feet, and it's going to be hauled off to appropriate landfills in the area. That work's scheduled to start pretty soon. There's been some public outreach. They've had various media nights where people were coming in asking questions. And I'm not sure exactly when it's supposed to start. If it's something you need, we give it back to you.
Yeah, that would be great. And then similar to the question related to that Minden facility, I mean, is there a threat, or should people be concerned that live nearby or live in Bossier?
Well, I mean, it's shallow contamination. People shouldn't be digging in the soil and all, but this has all been addressed through time, speaking with the residents that actually live there. The soil will be removed, but these standards that we use are based on long-term exposure, exposure over lifetime cancer risk. So, you know, it'll be dug up in a short amount of time, so it's not really going to be an issue.
Is there anything else that you want to add or that you think is important that I did not touch on?
Either side? No.
There was nothing off site at the dry cleaner site until 2022. I want to make that clear. So that's the reason that it took a little while for us to start work on that. But we were waiting for results from some soil gas.
Great. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you guys taking the time, fitting me in your schedule. I really appreciate it. Thanks for doing that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
bye-bye.